What's up, guys? Horror Man back for another review. So today we're going to take a look at the Halloween The Curse of Michael Myers Ultimate Action Figure. Now this is made by NECA Toys and it's part of their ongoing line of Halloween figures. This particular one is based on Halloween 6, which is basically taking place several years after Halloween 5, and it pretty much finishes Jamie Lloyd, her story, and kind of discovers the real curse of Michael Myers, like why he kills people, like what made him, basically unkillable, and why he does what he does. So it was a very story-driven movie. It wasn't really just a slasher movie, and it was made in the mid-90s and was actually Paul Rudd's first movie. So very interesting release. Just taking a look at the box here, I love the cover. This has always been one of my favorite movie covers. I actually do like to draw a lot in my spare time, and I've drawn this image a few times over the years. But I really do love the box. It's a very similar take on the original Halloween. It's just like a slightly flipped image, and instead of the pumpkin this time, it's the shape, the mask of Michael Myers. So really cool. It does say "Terror never rests in peace." You get the logo on the front. Same thing on the sides. Over to the back, you get some really cool images of the figure, kind of highlighting some of the accessories. You get the same Halloween logo on the bottom. Kind of describes some of the accessories that come with the Michael Myers figure. Same thing on the top here. And you do get the UPC on the bottom, along with the credits of the people responsible for this figure. You get a really nice image of Michael Myers in the front here, clearly displayed with all his different accessories and interchangeable parts. You also get a really cool image of him on the inner flap of the box. Now the box itself is very shiny, so just keep that in mind. Any dust or fingerprints or anything are going to show up pretty easily on there. But I'm pretty excited about this one because I really think this is the direction NECA needs to go with Halloween, like as a license. Just start making Michael Myers from different movies, just like they did with Freddy, just like they did with Jason, Leatherface, the list goes on, Chucky. Just even if the movies aren't the best, just keep making them because Michael Myers will always sell. He's a great designed character. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this out of the box and have a closer look. Alright, so here he is outside of the box, and he definitely is a bigger Myers than some of the older ones, so I'm very interested to see how he compares with some of the other ones, and I'll definitely do plenty of comparisons later for you, so stay tuned for that. Before we get too far, I always like to show the little background pieces that you get with these figures, because I think NECA does a pretty good job with these. And this one looks pretty good. Kind of looks like the Myers neighborhood. It's kind of like a little out of focus, got like a bit of a more colder, dark look to it, and I think that looks pretty cool. So I think they'll actually show up pretty good in pictures. Let's go ahead and start by taking a nice close-up of that head sculpt. Alright, so taking a close-up of the shape, the mask here, it is much different than what you see in like the first couple Halloween movies, so it's not like that Captain Kirk mask. It really changed in part 4, and it really didn't go back to that old style until probably like the Rob Zombie remake, where it was a bit more similar, and then of course with the more recent requels, they kind of went back to that old mask. But this was definitely a much different mask, and I think NECA's captured that pretty well. You got the hair kind of fluffed out just a bit more. It's not so slicked back. Much different eyes, and those eyebrows definitely look different. But yeah, just a different like face overall. It really doesn't look anything like the original. There are some subtle like similarities compared to like the original Halloween masks. One thing I noticed is the forehead, like some of the lines on there definitely remind me of the original. The cheeks don't have that same look, and I think that's really one of the biggest differences. And maybe the eyebrows, those definitely kind of change it up a bit. But yeah, I do think they captured it really well. I do like this kind of like a seam line, or like when you make a mask, there might be like some things like seams you trim off of there. I think that looks really cool. It definitely gives the look of a mask and not someone's face. And here's the left side of the mask, and again you can see that kind of like seam right there. And you could really see like that this guy was a lot thicker than some of the other like actors that have played Michael Myers. He definitely has a bit of like a thickness to him, or like a size difference to him, and you could really see it from this angle in the face. And then finally, here he is from the back, and you can just get a good idea of how that hair looks. And I do think the hair looks really good on here. NECA's been doing much better things with their hair sculpts lately, which makes me happy, because sometimes it looks too plasticky. So I like the little texture here. Definitely adds more realism to the figure. Now, I've reviewed a lot of Michael Myers figures over the years, so I always try to show you that there is eyes behind the mask. So hopefully this light will show you a little bit of what the eyes look like. I do think NECA does a great job of hiding them and setting them back far enough. But I do like that the eyes are still there. I mean, he is a human being. So yeah, you can kind of sort of see the eyes once you shine some light in his face. Now, you do get two versions of the Michael Myers mask, or the shape. So you get the clean mask, which you've already seen, and that's the one that's on him inside of the box when you get the figure. But you do get this interchangeable head, which is really cool. Now, I will say it was a little hard popping this new head sculpt on. It was a lot easier to take it off. And it kind of snaps like it snapped in, but it didn't quite snap in, so I had to really, attach this thing. But it does look really cool. Now, you're probably asking why the hell he looks like this. And the reason is he gets stuck with several syringes that were green. So I guess they were trying to do their best to kill him as quick as they could. So after he gets beat up to a bloody pulp, he has all this green stuff all over his face. Now, I will say it kind of is like a vision also, so it kind of makes it seem like that's what maybe Tommy thinks he's looking at. But it could just be like in his head. But I do think this is actually what he looked like. And you only really see it for like a split second, so if you blink, you miss it. But I do think NECA really captured it well here. And I do like that there's a touch more weathering on this. It definitely gives that, final battle kind of element to it. And then looking at the right side of his face, again, you can really see that stuff kind of dripping down his neck and his, just all over the place, coming out of his nose, all over the mask. It's just really, really intense. I definitely really like this. Alright, so taking a look at the rest of the figure here, it is a much cleaner Michael Myers than we're used to seeing. You don't see all the bullet holes or the blood splatter or like that kind of, wetness to it, if that makes sense. He kind of looks like he's been left out in the rain sometimes. But he definitely looks really good. And for the most part, I think this is a new mold. I don't think I see much of any reuse here. If there is, it's probably like the shoes or the hands or maybe parts of the arms that I'm not really, at least not standing out to me. But I could definitely see a lot of differences here. For one, besides all the, riddled with bullet holes that you usually see on Michael Myers, you don't have any of that here. So it's a very fresh, jumpsuit. And then you do have much bigger pockets on here than you usually see on the Michael Myers outfit. And then the collar isn't popped like you usually see. You usually see this collar popped up pretty high. So that is much different. But yeah, he definitely looks like he's an all-new mold. He's definitely stockier, like the actor himself is stockier. And I definitely like that they reflected that in the figure. But yeah, for the most part, it looks really good. Nice wrinkles. I like the seam lines that you see. Just really nice details overall. Looking at the back of the torso, pretty plain. Not a whole lot of details here, but definitely accurate to the costume. You can see like the kind of like the stretchy waistband along the outfit here. Got the Myers butt, really big pockets on there as well. Again, some good wrinkles going on, and there's no bullet holes or anything like that. Very fresh jumpsuit. Now, unlike the requels, this movie does respect Halloween 2. I'm talking the 1981 original Halloween 2. So when you look at his hands, you'll see it reflective of that movie. So they're all burned up. And I think NECA did a really good job of reflecting that. So I do like the detail in the hands very much. And looking down at the pants here, again, really nice wrinkles going on. You can see how they kind of fold differently at the bottom here and in the knees. A little bit of like, you know, different wrinkles in the legs, so really nice looking. He's got the standard like Michael Myers boots that we usually see, nothing real different there. And then just pretty much what we'd expect overall. Again, the back, just not much detail, just some wrinkling and things like that. You do get the peg holes in the bottom of the feet as well, but he does seem to stand pretty well. Alright, so taking a look at the articulation here, and I know Myers figures can be all over the place with articulation, but it looks like the arms at least are going to have some really good articulation here. So the head can look down a little bit. Unfortunately, that neck piece kind of prevents him from looking down too far with just the head. He can do the standard Michael Myers tilt. Could it be better? Definitely. Yeah, that neck piece definitely gets in the way a bit, unfortunately. You can go left and right pretty decently. Arms can go out all the way, pretty much a T-pose. I love that they can go down all the way as well. I hate when the arms don't go down enough. Got a pretty good double hinged elbow. It is that classic NECA style, so it is a little bit different. Arms can go up about that high. But yeah, pretty good. I think we'll get some good range out of that. Can move here at the shoulder and also at that joint. And then the wrists turn pretty good. They can kind of cradle in a little bit of movement on there. The cuff on the wrist might hurt it just a little bit. No real cut lines in the waist. So yeah, you're not going to be able to move much there. Can't really move much back and forward. So yeah, that's pretty locked. Great split. Diaper kind of gets in the way from going out too far. Single hinged knee. Feet go down a little bit. Not much there either. A little bit of ankle rocker, not a whole lot. So yeah, the articulation is a little weak on this figure, unfortunately. Will we be able to get at least some classic Michael Myers poses? We'll definitely find out. Alright, so taking a look at the first accessory here, I really love this one. This is probably my favorite accessory with this set. So this strode sign was outside of the Michael Myers house. But what's really cool is in the movie, somebody puts this like cardboard cutout of Myers on it, which is so funny, and says he's coming. There's a little clip on the back, and you could just put it wherever you want. I think it looks best like kind of on the end, so it still says sold. But it looks really cool. And I'm so glad they didn't go the paper or cardboard route, but it still looks like it's paper, so it's just really cool. I just love this accessory. And here's one more quick close-up of this amazing accessory. I just love it. I even love this little corner that's like folded over. It just looks so real. It's just so cool. Now the next accessory I have in there, because it goes very well with this, and that is the axe. And I always remember the father kind of chops down this sign with the axe, and he's all pissed off because of all this Michael Myers stuff. But yeah, you do get the axe, and of course Michael Myers gets that at one point in the film and kills at least one person with it. But the axe looks really good. You do get some blood on there, just that classic long-handled axe that you've seen with many like Friday the 13th style figures. But yeah, really cool accessory. The next two accessories are very on point for the movie. So you have these kind of like ceremonial items here. You have like the ceremonial candles, and then you have this bag of runes, which is like a pagan alphabet of like these stone letters. I could spend all day trying to tell you or explain this to you, but the shorthand version is there's a logo or a mark on Michael Myers' arm. We've seen it for years. It's called the Thorn. It's basically a pagan alphabet thing. And it basically means like the demon that brings sickness and death. This symbol is also seen on Halloween in it's like a kind of like a constellation or an alignment of stars. And basically every time that thorn constellation shows up, it's always on Halloween, and Myers pops up. So there's like this big curse, and these two items kind of reflect that curse and some of the scenes that you see in the movie. For the next two items, they're definitely reflective of the end of the movie. So the first one you get is basically a bunch of syringes. It's like 6 different syringes kind of stuck together. And you can see this like green liquid inside. So this is what they use to bring Myers down. Final image of like after all this, you see one of the syringes, and then you see the Myers mask kind of just like sitting there, so you know he's kind of like, you know, done for, at least for now. Now the one thing I'll say with this mask, I really do love this, but it is flattened. So if you like hold it up, it's all kind of goofy looking. So it's only good to kind of rest like that. So you also get some other weapons aside from the axe. You do get a crowbar, which I don't even remember the crowbar in the movie, but you do get the crowbar. You get this really cool surgical knife, which looks like a machete. That thing is huge, and he kills a ton of people in the like hospital with that thing. And then you get 2 kitchen knives, which look exactly the same to me. I can't even see the difference. There was this like ceremonial knife that I do remember from the beginning that looked really cool. I was kind of hoping you would get that with this. You don't get that. But overall, you do get some, you know, cool weapons for Michael Myers. And, you know, if you want, you could probably put this little pack of syringes in his hand too. So pretty good loadout for weapons. All right, and then the final accessory is the pumpkin, of course. And you always get a pumpkin with Michael Myers for the most part, and it always is reflective of the movie that it's in. So this is the, you know, Curse of Michael Myers pumpkin. You do see it really clearly at the very end of the movie. It's like one of the last images, if not the last images of the movie, before they say like in memory of Donald Pleasance. But it does look really cool. I do love the sculpt. The face is really cool. It's kind of, you know, pretty scary. Classic pumpkin, but definitely, you know, a bit more radical in the scareness. But you can also see the candle pretty well in there. Hopefully that shows up in the video. I do really like it. You know, you could just spin it around if you just want it as a regular pumpkin. You know, some nice detail on the top. But unfortunately it doesn't glow. So there's no light inside. There's no glow in the dark feature. And that's really disappointing. So a little disappointed with the pumpkin, but I am glad that we at least got it. Besides the relaxed hands that you get on Michael Myers, you also get 5 other hands that go along with him, so 7 hands total. You get 3 different right hands and 2 different left hands. The left hands look almost the same. There really isn't much difference between them. One's just open just slightly more. The right ones, you can see much bigger differences between. Obviously, this one is open the most, aside from the relaxed hand. And just like the regular hands that I showed you that are like more of the open hands, there's really good details on here reflecting the burned Michael Myers from Halloween 2. And then if you want to interchange the hand, it should come off pretty easily. A little bit of grip. Oh, they're on there pretty tight actually. Alright, and then you got that kind of straight, thick peg there. And then we'll kind of put on a slightly more open hand. And pop that in there. And yeah, pops in there pretty good. Here he is holding one of the kitchen knives, and you got that kind of creepier side lighting going on. He does hold it pretty good. Here he is with that like surgical blade, which again is just huge, man. It's like a machete. And here he is with the axe, and you can get him in a couple double-handed poses. This one just kind of like using the relaxed hand and also using one of the gripping hands. And he does hold it really well. Here he is with the crowbar or pry bar, whatever this is, and it looks pretty good. It's a little small, but you can get like a double-handed pose, or you could just kind of just keep it in that like tighter gripping hand. I don't really, like I said, I don't really remember this in the movie. So I don't have a whole lot of poses for it, but it's cool to at least get another weapon. And here he is with the syringe bundle. And Michael Myers actually is the one that gets stabbed with these, so it's kind of like more of an accessory that was used against him. But if you do want to put it in his hand, he does look pretty crazy with it, so I do like the way that looks. You don't get an unmasked head with Myers, but you do get this really cool mask. And if you're, creative enough, you can get it to look like he's holding the mask and the knife, like getting ready to go out. But it is, of course, flat on one side, like I mentioned, so it's probably best like rested up against his body or just like laying on something. One more thing to take note of, just in case you were hoping to put like some cool like custom head sculpt or something on this particular body. Unfortunately, the peg hole system is definitely a much smaller peg hole on the old Michael Myers head sculpt, so just keep that in mind. For the first comparison, here he is with the original Halloween by NECA Toys, and then the original Halloween by Trick or Treat Studios, and you can see they're a little bit taller and a bit more of like that staction figure. For the next comparison, here he is next to a couple of Halloween 2 figures made by NECA, but they are custom figures. You can see the head sculpts are custom painted with real fabric hair done by Nick B. Berg. But it is cool seeing these next to each other. Again, much different look. Here he is with the requel versions of Michael Myers. You have Halloween 2018, you have the Halloween Kills, and then the Halloween Ends. And you can see these are definitely much different. And again, I really don't see much like part reuse here. Completely different looking figure. For one more requel comparison, here he is with the 2018 Myers and the Jamie Lee Curtis or Laurie Strode, just for the height comparison. Here he is with a couple of sequel horror characters. You have the Dream Warriors Freddy and then New Blood Jason, and you can see they are pretty close in height. That is one of the taller Freddy figures. Here he is with the original Dr. Loomis from the Halloween box set, and then the Rob Zombie Halloween. Here he is with a couple would-be final girls. So you have April O'Neil from the TMNT 1990, and then the Shelley from Sin City, played by Brittany Murphy. And then for the final comparison, here he is next to the Halloween 2 Retro Michael Myers, also made by NECA Toys. Alright, so that's my review of the Ultimate Curse of Michael Myers action figure. And I really do like this figure. I think it's, for the most part, pretty well done. The articulation was definitely my biggest complaint, especially in that midsection. He really can't turn too much. But you do get the articulation where it matters, and if you watch enough Halloween movies, you know Myers doesn't do much acrobatics or anything. It's all in the arms. One criticism I have of this figure is that they didn't find a way to put the thorn tattoo on his wrist. I feel like that would have been a really easy thing to do. Like, even if they would have done like an interchangeable forearm to where like maybe this one wrist didn't have that articulation as much as the other ones. But that's where like the thorn would be, is where that articulation point is. But yeah, I feel like with this specific version, that insignia on his wrist kind of goes with the whole idea of the curse of Michael Myers. So not including it just seems wrong. So if I was NECA, if I did go in and make like a battle damaged or like bloody version of this, I would find a way to include the thorn tattoo on his wrist. One thing that's really sold me on this figure is the accessories. These are the best accessories we've got with an Ultimate Michael Myers. That's aside from like all the box sets and things like that. Plenty of weapons. So yeah, in like the accessories department, this is definitely just exceptional. I would only give it about a 9.5 just because the pumpkin doesn't have a light. I was a bit surprised we didn't get a bloody knife because they gave us 2 exact knives, which I thought was kind of weird. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. Just a couple quick final thoughts. I would love to see a final battle version of this figure. I mean, we've already got this head sculpt here, but the body definitely doesn't reflect it, so I would like to see like a bit more blood on here. The collar being popped up, I think, would be really cool. His collar actually does kind of lift up as the movie goes on. I think that would be really cool to kind of see that. And I also mentioned that thorn tattoo being on like maybe a different interchangeable forearm or something like that. Maybe they can even put a light in that pumpkin. Do a couple things they didn't do with this. If you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you have a comment or question, leave that in the comments section below. And until next time, guys, see ya.